I want to discuss how it is that the Cuban driver in Colorado wound up in the situation that he wound up in. Now, this isn't a detailed account of exactly what happened to him, but this is basically something that I hear about every day in this community, in the truck driving community. How a driver gets to where Rogel is now, from the time he even starts going to trucking school. And I'm gonna upload another video with commentary from a lawyer and another gentleman that has some very interesting details about that case. So, just to refresh your memory, Rogel was recently um, he was recently and for some reason I can't see the comments if there are any comments right now. My apologies for that. Let me see if there's any way of doing that. Okay, I'm not sure, but in any event, so he was convicted to a 110-year sentence, and we can get into that, and I will, in the next video that I upload with the commentary from those two gentlemen, from those two professionals that I was talking about. But for now, and before I continue, let me explain that I started driving in 1997. When I started, there were no cell phones, there were no GPS, and I did drive mountainous regions in all weather. That includes the winter during icy and snowy conditions. And and in the time that I've been driving, I have, um, I have no accidents, no, um, my license is completely clean since then, completely clean. First thing is going cheap and fast. You have a lot of drivers that encourage people who are going into schools to take the cheap and fast route. Uh, and once they graduate and acquire their licenses, they continue to go to the cheap and fast route and not get the proper training that they need. Now, it's essential to go to a good school, and good schools are going to charge you more money. And in those schools, you're going to receive the necessary preparation to move on to the next stage, which is the training that you're going to receive from something like a mega carrier. And not all mega carriers are good now, let's be clear about that. But the ones that are responsible, that training that you receive in the school uh, complements the training that you're going to receive from your first employer. Hopefully, it's a responsible one. And while we're on the subject of cheap and fast, you have owner operators that became owner operators through the very same pathway, cheap and fast. That is the underlying cause of what put Rogel in the situation that he's in right now. Cheap and fast. The good schools provide you with in-class training and information that the quick and cheap schools don't provide. So when you leave a cheap and quick school that only provides you with the ability to acquire the license, and that's it. You leave from a cheap and quick school to go on to I don't know. I don't know if it's a mega carrier. I don't know, but I know in some cases, when someone like that does go into a mega carrier, they find that the pay is far too low, and they need to move on. Without considering the fact that a mega carrier is taking a huge risk with an individual that's coming fresh out of school with no experience whatsoever. A huge risk. They're handing these people the keys to some equipment that could weigh up to 80,000 pounds that, when driven irresponsibly, can absolutely destroy and kill people, as we've already seen. That costs anywhere in the range of $180,000 to $260,000. They're putting the keys in the hands of somebody with no experience whatsoever, just the school, and that's not enough. That's nowhere near enough. So they find the pay cheap and they want to move on quickly. Okay. You want to move on quickly. And by moving on quickly, you will be sacrificing essential training. You got those two situations coupled with people who have this desire to go owner-operator immediately. Not even going through any kind of experience with another carrier as an employee. And I always recommend anyone who comes in contact with me that asks me any questions about becoming an owner-operator, I always suggest a minimum of 3 years with a carrier of some kind. Ideally, a combination of over-the-road for 1 year, regional for 1 year, and then local for 1 year. That's usually what I recommend. And the reason why I recommend a year of each is because the considerations that you have to take for each situation can differ. Maybe not by much, but it can differ. For example, looking for a safe haven as an over-the-road driver or a regional driver is not something that you would be worried about as a local driver. And then there are other considerations, like areas where local truck drivers go in and out of could be extremely different from someone who goes over the road. Or maybe that person who goes over the road or regional don't have to deal with city driving anywhere near as much as a local driver. So that's something to consider. Now, in each case, you're going to be exposed to training that the companies use because they want to be in compliance with the Department of Transportation. And a lot of these small companies, owner-operators, they don't understand exactly what they need to be compliant about. So if you do decide to go the route of what I suggested, you're going to get a good amount of training because the safety department is going to concentrate on compliance with the Department of Transportation, and they're going to provide you with the training necessary for that company to protect themselves from a potential audit. Because once you get audited, not the first time, but once you get audited the second time, you're going to realize that there's a lot more going on from the business aspect than you ever thought. So quick and cheap in the school, quick and cheap in the training, and those will lead you to the same situation that Rogel is in. This is not this is not a critique of Rogel, but this is a critique of people who encourage that cheap and quick route. And it's unfortunate, and I suspect that that's what happened with Rogel. Rogel went the cheap and quick route. Now, here, for the most part, in most schools that I know of, there might be exceptions. I don't know which schools those are. And this is in regard to the language issue. Most of the schools that I know of, you have to take the test in English. Now, if there's a school out there that allows you to take the test in another language, well, that's putting somewhat of a crutch on that driver. Somewhat of a crutch. And I say somewhat of a crutch because if you're being trained by someone who speaks the same language, then you should be able to get the same messaging and an understanding of what certain signs actually mean. A lot of signs use pictures that help you understand. For example, if there's a road that doesn't allow trucks, there'll be a picture of a truck with a line going through it, a red line, a circle and a red line going diagonally across it. That's your indication, and that's not something you really need to understand English to be able to interpret. That's something that you should be able to interpret no matter what language you speak. And if there's proper training, there should be training on all terrain, on all types of road, mountainous or flat. Now, in Rogel's case, he was hired in Texas. He got his first year experience, if I'm not mistaken, a year and a half in Texas, which is fairly flat for the most part. And then he went on to another company, a small company as well. And again, you have owner operators, you have truck owners and business owners that have small operations that they themselves didn't get enough training from the business aspect to know what to expect from your drivers. Now, he hired Rogel, the new company, hired Rogel with, I don't know, with whatever information he needed. So he must have seen, I mean, if he was in compliance with what DOT wants, he would have had at least 3 years worth of employment. Rogel didn't have 3 years of employment. So what kind of training did this new company offer, if any at all? Or did they just care about the money and the growth and said, well, he's got a CDL, he's a professional driver, he's supposed to know, I'm not worrying about it. That could potentially have happened. And that's the type of business owner, that's the type of trucking company owner that also went the cheap and fast route. He wanted to get up and running immediately. And as a result, he didn't put certain things in place to make sure that his business was protected as well. Maybe no safety personnel that would make sure that they were in compliance. I don't know the company, and I don't know whether they followed through with that or not. But it sounds like that's what happened. And it's that cheap and quick route that will get you into trouble. There's no way you should take shortcuts when you're handling a piece of equipment that you're sharing with people on the highways that could potentially kill or destroy. I hope I hope people who aspire to become truck drivers, I hope you get a chance to listen to this video and consider exactly what's being said. Cheap and quick, that's too big of a sacrifice to enter this game. You should be as thorough as you possibly can and avoid anyone who encourages you to go the cheap and quick route. I'm going to end the video here with that. And again, I'm going to have an upload for my next video. And there's going to be some commentary and some information about the case itself. It's going to be extremely interesting. And it may anger a lot of people. So with that, guys, you stay safe out there, please.